So I have here our morning algorithm. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to learn today about how to swap variables. So here's how we do it. Let's say we have 2 cups. One's full of water. One's full of Kool-Aid. Say that. How do we swap the liquids in the cups?
You have a third cup that you pour the water in, then the Kool-Aid goes in the water, and then the third cup goes in the Kool-Aid.
Okay. So you need a third cup. This will be something like our temporary substitute cup. So if we pour the Kool-Aid in the temp cup, then the Kool-Aid cup will be empty after that. Once the Kool-Aid cup is empty, then it can be used as a container for the water. So then we can pour the water in here. Then we'll have an empty water cup. Then this cup, which has the Kool-Aid, the temp cup, can be poured into the water cup. Then the yellow cup, the temp cup, will be empty again. And we will have had switched the cups, the liquids. Okay, everyone understand how we did that? We have 2 full cups. We need a third cup to use as a temp. And that's what we'll be explaining here. When you have 2 variables, for example, this one, var fruit1 equals apples, var fruit2 equals oranges. If you say fruit2 equals fruit1, what does fruit2 now equal? Apples, right? Because it was oranges previously, but then we said, actually, we want the new value to be assigned to whatever fruit1 is, which is apples. So you have fruit1 apples, fruit2 apples. So if you console log this, it'll be apples and apples. Okay. So all we're doing here is assigning a new value. Fruit1, fruit2. All we're doing is saying fruit1 originally, we're going to make that apples. Fruit2, oranges. And then we say, actually, we want fruit2 to be the value of fruit1. So if we console log fruit1 and fruit2 at the very end here, then we get apples and apples as our console log. So what if we want to do the swap with variables? It looks like this. You have fruit1, which is apples. Okay, so let's do that. Fruit1, apples. Fruit2, oranges. Okay, Then we have here var temp. This is the swap. Temp. It's going to equal fruit1. So fruit1 gets poured into temp. This is our Kool-Aid being poured into the temp cup, the yellow cup. So we say apples. Temp equals fruit1. Then fruit1 equals fruit2. Fruit1 equals fruit2. So then the new value of fruit1 is going to be oranges. And fruit2 equals temp. So we've saved the value of apple to temp. So now we can say fruit2 is equal to apples. The reason we need a temp is because when we do the swap, we need to save the liquid somewhere, the value of it. So we needed to save apples to this temp. Otherwise, when we made fruit1 to be oranges, we would have lost that value completely of apples. And that's how we were able to give fruit2 apples. Let's take a poll to make sure we understand this. Keep in mind, this is important. This is important for solving algorithms in an efficient manner. Remembering this swap helped me get a job for an interview once. Remembering how to do this swap. Okay. Also, we have the idea of while loops. So, who can tell me what a while loop does, what it is?
It runs until the parameters are met, like while 1 is less than 2, it'll keep adding, 1 plus plus, and then when 1 is greater than 2, it'll stop.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that analogy. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have a while loop. The while loop says, while this is true, do this. While this is true, do this here. Okay, so let's do another example here. While, so let's make a variable. Var num equals 0. So we have a variable called num. And we're making it 0. And we're going to say while num is less than 3, I want you to say num plus plus. So it's going to start at 0. And then it's going to check, is num less than 3? Okay, then go in here and add to num. And it will check again. Is num still 3? Yes. So it will add again. So it's something in between a for loop and an if statement, because it will continue to do something as long as this condition is true. As long as this is true, it will do something.
Does it work with false statements or only true statements?
False statements as well. As long as the false statement is true. So we can say, as long as num is not equal to 5. As long as num is not equal to 5, I want you to go inside and do this thing here. So this is a false equivocation here, right? Num is not equal to 5, but as long as this is true, then this is going to continue to do what it's supposed to do. True or false statements, as long as this statement is true, it will enter. Okay, so let's give some feedback on while loops. Do we think we understand what we're doing here?
What's the difference between the while and the for loop as far as implementation?
So as far as implementation goes, it's very similar. The only difference is that with the for loop, we know with the while loop, we may know when we're going to stop as well. So with the for loop, we have the variable. We have this defined variable. Okay. With the while loop, we don't need to have that. That's not necessary. That's not something you would do in a while loop. Then you have the defined ending. Okay. This is what's similar. While I is less than 10. Okay, this you would find something similar in a while loop, because that's the condition while something is true. This is the checker. Is something true? Is something not true here? So this is like the while loop here. And then we have the I plus plus. That's not in a while loop. In a while loop, if you're going to increase anything, you're going to do it in the do something section. So let's create a while loop as well. Well, this to these here. This area here can be filled with anything, as long as we're checking to see if it's true. And it can have more than one condition. Do you remember the and ampersand sign, what that means? So if we say and that means both sides of the condition have to be true. So we can put more than one thing here. While I is less than 100 and I is a positive integer. Okay, so you can do multiple checks while something is true, or if this is true. So you can have more than one checks inside the parentheses of a while loop. Okay. The only other similarity to that would be if this is, like, let's say less than or equal to 10. This is checking two things at once, less than or equal to. This can check two things at once, but you'd have to use the and sign or the or sign. Okay, so here we have this one, start and end. Okay, so starts at 0. End starts at 12. While start is less than end. Is start 0 less than end 12? Yes. So then we enter. Console log start plus start end plus end. Okay, so then we say start 0 and 12. Then we subtract, then we say start plus equals 2. So then start becomes 2 and minus equals 2, so then this becomes 10. And our first console log would have been something here saying start 0 and 12. Then our next statement would then be start 2 and 10. And it will go on until start is less than end. So at what point would this stop? Maybe when start is 6 and end is 6.
Ends at 6.
Yeah. So when they both reach 6, then start is no longer less than end. And this would have ended. Okay. So we have this while loop. And we're going to want to use both the swap variable and this while loop to create a function that will reverse an array. Okay. You can use a for loop. You can use if statements, but the ultimate goal for today is to use a while loop and to use this swap function to go ahead and create this function, write a function that will take an array and reverse it. So A, B, C, D, E should return E, D, C, B, A. Any questions about what the assignment is for right now? Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and break out into groups.
Josh, if you're talking, you're muted.
I've been talking this whole time.
Oh, yeah, you kind of been muted.
So anyone do solve this using a while loop?
We did both.
Okay. Can you T-diagram it from scratch?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's see it.
Am I sharing the correct screen? Can you see my VS Code?
Yeah.
Uh, I was not anticipating doing this. I'm gonna pull up a spreadsheet real quick because that is easier for me to use. Okay. All right. You want us to just go through the while loop?
Yep. Explain how we do this.
All right. So this is um this is going to be good practice because Ethan walked me through this. So let's make sure I understand here. Got our variable and our value. So with we call our function reverse 2, and we're going to give it an array. So we set our initial variables. We set start to 0, and we set end to the length of the array minus 1. At this point,
Okay, so
Right.
what's that value right now?
So-
What's the array? Okay.
So since we're in the function, it will already know the array. So we know our array length is 5. So the end value is going to be 4.
Okay.
So let me actually um, our array is going to be 5, 4, 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which we get from here. Okay, so our initial start is at 0, and our initial end is at array length -1, which is 4.
Okay.
So then in the loop, we're going to check for our condition here is while start is less than end, which it is initially. We define a new variable temp, which is going to be our end. So array index 4, which is the value 5.
Temp. Okay, so temp equals 5.
Yep. And then we're going to set array. Yeah, we'll do it. Array end is going to be set to array start. So our start is 0. So we want array index 0, which is 1. And then array start is set to the temp value, which is 5. And then we're going to do our iterations. Start goes up 1 to 2, and end goes down 1 to 3. I don't like the way I diagrammed this. It's going to get confusing.
That's fine. Okay, so we start at
So
5,
then,
right?
yep. So then our temp, we're
So
still in the loop.
what does our array look
because-
like at this point? Because you've defined what the variables are.
So array at this point is going to look like 5, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Okay, so that's what we need to write after beside on row 2 of this spreadsheet. So after the first value of array, put a comma, and then we put the second value there.
Okay. Then our start changes to 1, and our end changes to 3. Our temp then is going to be index 3, so that's going to change to the value 4. Array end is going to change to our second index, which is 2, and array start is going to change to 4. And then we iterate. Start goes up, and end goes down. Our array now looks like this, and check our conditions. Start is 3 and end is 2, so start is no longer less than end. We are out of the loop. We return the array. Sorry. And our so when we console log the value of this, it will return 54321, which is our final value of array.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any questions about this? See, the difference between a while loop and a for loop is that, for example, in a while loop, we get to say start plus plus and end minus minus. Whereas in a for loop, we could still do that, but it would be defined in the section where we say var I equals 0, I plus plus. Okay, so let's see Jones group do this with a for loop. See what it looks like in that instance. So I worked with their group and we built it together. So I know that one's working. Joan and Matthew.
Yeah, so we use the palindrome example as inspiration. So we made the function reverse ARR. On the third line, we made a looping function. So when variable left equals 0, left is less than the AR length divided by 2. We're going to add to the left side, and then the right side we did ARR dot length -1 minus left, so that way we're working from the right side to the left. And then we assigned a temp value to the left side because we're going to replace the left side with the right side. So that's variable temp equals AR left, then AR left equals AR right. So we took the left value, replaced it with the right value, and then we still need to bring back that left value we replaced. So we made ARR right equal to temp. Then the loop would start again. I would move the left side over to the second or the first index. And then it would move the right side to the third index. Then it would do it again. Then we return the ARR, and then we console logged their function with our array put in the brackets. So that way we could just plug it in.
Okay. That's how it's done with the for loop. Anyone have any questions about this? Right, if we need to take a further look, we have this code here on the recording. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording now.